Welcome back to the Nullify Tech channel here on YouTube and also streaming live on Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host, Chris, and with me today is my friends and co-hosts, Chantal and Drew. We're here to talk about the Challenge USA Episode 6. Chantal, how you doing?
I'm great. This season keeps on delivering, in my opinion. I enjoy every single second of it. I enjoy talking about it. There's just a lot that happens in this episode. I think that is worthy of talking about. I can't wait to see Drew's excitement when he gets to talk about probably his #1 point getter this episode.
New MVP.
Yes, all over great. I mean, I just definitely enjoying this episode, and I want to hear you guys' opinions about it. So happy to be here.
Yeah, Drew, how did you feel about the rise of David here this episode? Suddenly, he's talking a lot. You know, he's trying to get involved in the strategy. He's winning dailies. Who is this guy?
I'll be honest, when we saw the meeting of David and Enzo in the kitchen trying to hype each other up, I instantly was like, great, we're going to get Enzo versus David in the elimination. I didn't think either one of them had the possibility of winning a daily challenge. But lo and behold, David did it. So you know what?
Yeah.
David the champ, Justine the queen, and David my king. Let's do this thing. Let's run it. Let's get this win.
I don't want to hear any bad words from you on David for the rest of the season now, Drew.
Oh, it's going to happen when he gets 0 confessionals next episode, but I'll be ready for it.
Okay, now Michelle's really mad at me for saying this when we chatted on Wednesday, but this episode for David, in my opinion, could maybe be a winner's edit.
Oh, really? You think it's because I don't believe in winners edits for the challenge. I don't think the challenge has got a winners edit because they're normally all over the place when it comes to their edit and how they show their winner. But you know, David is putting in some work. People are disrespecting him. Who knows? He could be. I thought Kylan. Like we keep getting Kylan talking about this being a dream of his, and he's wanting to. He's even like, you know how TJ brings in every time. You know, remember whoever wins this is going to represent the USA in the grand world finale of the challenge tournament, and Kylan's the only one that really feels like he's getting excited about that, even in the confessionals.
Well, the reason why I'm thinking that it's David, somebody was comparing the situation with Amber B, how she had virtually no edit. And then all of a sudden, she, not with Darrell anymore, linked up with CT, or no, it was with Fessy for a second, links up with CT, wins the game. And so we never really saw her being a winner coming from, it just came out of nowhere. And so I'm wondering if it's a similar type vibe with David here, being basically invisible. And then he's probably going to be able to fade into the background again while all these other bigger personalities fight at each other. And he might just kind of skate by to the end. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Drew does not look impressed with that frown on his face there. He's like, that's your guy. That's your boy, David. You're ride or die.
Well, I don't think he's out of the woods just yet. I think that if anything, people could want to send him in over and over again, especially if he gets paired up with somebody who doesn't have enough cash. Also, Alyssa makes a big old deal about him taking out Derek and how Derek always had David's back and all this other stuff that she's like, great move there, David. I'm going to have to come after you. So I feel like he's on her radar. I don't know, take that with whatever you want. But I feel like that's what it's setting up. Like Alyssa, if she gets any power or gets into people's ear, maybe she would be like, we should take out David. That's such a great idea. Isn't that right, everybody? Now I have a new storyline. Yay, I get more camera time because Xavier left and I got 1 confessional this episode.
Ooh. Well, I'm not sure though if she's going to be able to get any traction with that, because I did hear that the reason why that ends up happening, that they get thrown in, is because Tyson did some work, and Dyson kind of was like, hey, let's not start taking out all the people with money yet. And so that it could be still the same argument with anybody that's left over in the game, that hey, David has money, let's not take him out yet because we don't want some people with money to start taking us out. So I can see that not working right now.
We've got Russell Muscle here in the live and saying that it's his first season of the challenge, but loving every second of it. I will do a little bit of shameless self-promotion here. Russell Muscle and I did a bit of a collab recently. It just dropped on his channel today. We talked about the potential of a post-merger versus pre-merger season like they're doing in Survivor South Africa right now. So check that out on Russell Muscle's channel. Russell, if you're still here in the chat at the moment, I'd love to hear your thoughts about the whole Tyson versus Sarah versus Ben scenario. What do you think of this messiness within the Survivor gameplay? Let us know in the chat. And also welcome here on the live, as always, Chris, Lovable Nikki, Sudani, Taylor, Les, Dolores, Anthony White, Diva. Let's see. There's so many people jumping
Baby
in.
Ice.
Alex Cooper, Chasing K Brain, I always pronounce that wrong, but she's got a really, really good vlogging channel for people who love traveling. So check that out. Big supporter of all three of our channels. So let's get back into the actual episode and where it starts. We start with the algorithm, and Kira finally gets the partner that she wanted. She's been wanting to get Tyson for quite a long time, but this whole episode's not going to be a pleasant one for her because the moment she gets him, she's having some issues. She's struggling with a stomach bug, or she's feeling nauseous throughout this, not performing at her peak. Chantal, what did you think of this dynamic? And just again, sort of seeing how someone as capable as Tyson can be dragged down by an anchor if you get the wrong partner. And obviously it wasn't the greatest. Like, I don't know if Kira would have been performing like she did in this challenge if it wasn't for all of that. But again, it just shows you how important partners are at this point, even if you're as capable as Tyson.
Obviously, I was just irritated because not that I want people to be able to perform at their best, especially when they're partnered with my favorite. And so like the fact that potentially her not feeling well might sacrifice his place in the game. And what was going on in my head was, because before the season started, he had all those podcasts being like, Survivor is the superior game show, and the challenges are better on than the challenge on Survivor. And so I was wondering if what was going to happen is she was going to take him down in the daily, and then they're going to have to go directly into elimination, and she was going to either bow out or not being able to perform in the elimination. So I thought he was going to be taken out that way, and that's something that he would be thinking would be unfair, that it wasn't on his own volition that he was being taken out. I thought her being sick and his partner for this round was going to have him taken out. So that's what I was thinking of when she was like talking about herself being sick. I was worried for Tyson going out this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I was very fearful as well for Tyson this episode. I know, Drew, you mentioned you were thinking Enzo and David was going to go up against each other. This whole episode, to me, I kind of felt like Tyson was in big trouble. I mean, he goes back to the house. He's just made this really big move against both Sarah and Ben. Ben takes it very personal, like it's a move against him, which it was, let's be honest. There's heat on him coming back into this house. So he has to sit everybody down, talk to them and say, listen, I'm not going to be okay with people putting me down there. I'm not giving anybody permission about it, but this is a game at the end of the day. I will respect it, and maybe people shouldn't be playing these games if they can't respect the fact that you're going to get thrown down there. What did you think of Tyson's scramble here and potentially the position he found himself in this episode where he was vulnerable, I feel like, for the first time this game?
I thought it was just funny because he says that in the beginning of the episode, but then once David and Desi win, he's like, if anybody throws me down there, I would just take any and all opportunity to try to get my revenge on that person. And even if it sacrifices my money, my chances of winning the money, then so be it. And I just thought that was funny. I don't know. I didn't think he was in that much trouble. Like, even if he went into the elimination, I felt like he would have had an opportunity to like get the person or the team that he wanted to get. We've just seen him so much in the beginning of the show, and basically he's the face of this franchise at this moment. We're not getting a ton of personality from much of anybody else. I mean, who's going to take up that mantle if he leaves? There's really nobody that's getting the consistent confessionals every single episode. So I just had no worry that even if he went into the elimination, that he was going to get eliminated this episode.
I thought it scared the Kira element of it, though, like taking him out that way. I know. I get you, though.
With people falling into the net, I was like, somebody's going to get hurt and he's going to be able to capitalize on that. But I do think that your theory is strong, that if he does falter at any point in this season, it could be because of his partner, or he could feel it's because of his partner. And at a certain point in Survivor, it turns into a solo game, and you can do whatever you want, do whatever you can to push yourself forward. So I think that's where it could get into the mind, which is why I really wanted this to be like a free agents, solo vendettas, total madness type of season where we swap around the daily challenges to teams, pairs, and solo, and you can do whatever you can. I thought that would be a lot more fun with that free flow than changing partners every single episode. But yeah.
Yeah, another interesting one here being brought up. Chasing Cabrene says if the algorithm was perfect or really perfect, Angela definitely couldn't have been with Ben this week, and Dom could have been with Sarah. So again, it sort of proves that it's a lie. But we thought it was going to be a lot worse, right? We thought, well, maybe they'll stop the drama and they'll put Tyson and Sarah together as a bit of a cop out.
No, that's next week.
All right. So you think that's when that's happening? They've deferred it for one more round. But I mean,
I think they're stacking the deck for Sarah and Ben to be able to get their revenge on Tyson. That's what it seems like, because I looked at the partner matchups, and that what was just suggested was a Patchner Mark matchup that hadn't occurred yet, and so it was possible for them to have everybody have a new partner. And so the fact that they said that, to me, says that the production is putting pairs together how they want it to be. So
yeah, interesting.
My thing is, you broke your own rules for no reason, because there was a fight that happened at the end of this episode. We hear it on the Challenge Official podcast last week by Cache, and we get zero. We get no confrontations. We get no conversations between Tyson, Sarah, or Ben at all this episode, and neither of them win. So this ultimately, you broke your own rules, because why even have that whole thing in the beginning of like, you'll be partnered up with somebody new until it's physically impossible? It was possible this episode to put together all new pairings. Just, this is where the challenge needs to stop trying to manufacture the drama and try to capitalize it, and just let the game play out, be the facilitation, and actually just put people in pairs and just hope for the best at this point.
And especially in a season like this, right? Because this was such a dud. New players.
This was such a dud, and I hated how they broke their own rules for it. You want to put Cinco and Cash together because you're worried that Cash may leave in week 1, so you want to put them together. Fine, do whatever you want to do at that one. But this was like so blatant. Like, don't break your own rules for nothing at this point.
I think it was to stack the deck for Sarah and Ben. I think that they wanted them to potentially dominate this challenge, this daily, and then they were hoping that it would be like, oh, then we'll see Tyson grovel and have Tyson in the hot seat, and they're going to get some big episode. And so I think that that's what they were attempting to do, but the show ended up making more drama than they probably would have gotten out of what they were hoping for. So I think it backfired in a positive way for them.
Yeah, it just amazes me when they it just amazes me when they do these types of things and they think that people don't notice it. Now you've got Tyson going away from the show talking about the fact that it's not as good as Survivor. He said that on his podcast because of some of the production elements to it, and the challenges potentially. I'm sure Angela, she looked very amused by this, from the start. I feel like she knew something was up as well. She wasn't too happy about being back with Dom. These are the players you want them to go away, talk well of the show, and then promote it so that other people from these franchises want to come and play the game. So we continue to have a good, steady influx of great players. And like you said, Drew, they're trying to manufacture drama, but all of these people are veteran reality TV stars that have been on other shows before. They know what it is to make good TV, or most of them do in any case. So I don't think you need to push this, and you don't have these alliances that have been there season in and season out that will just stick together no matter what. So it'll be a predictable outcome, because this house very much is in flux. Like, you've got Survivor taking shots at each other now. You've got Big Brother that have been doing it for a very long time. I would say the only loyal faction at this point, Chantel, is Love Island. They're the only ones that are actually looking out for themselves. as a group to a certain degree. I mean, if they have to go head to head, they have to, right? At that point. But I feel like they're sticking together.
Love Island girls will say, because it seems like
Yeah.
Cinco and Cashel were not really part of that, and Giovanni was out too quickly. Giovanni might have been the glue because he was really friendly with everybody, so he might have be able to bring them all together. But one thing though about this algorithm as well, like poor Angela, like I really think that they were trying their best to stack the deck for Sarah and Ben to dominate. Angela wouldn't be with a partner that she would most likely be able to win with, and that's probably why Angela was pissed as well. She's like, man, I've already been with Dom. Like, I thought I didn't have to be with him again. There's all other partners that I haven't been with that are way better than him that, like, I could maybe win the daily with. So it's like they were also probably didn't want Angela to win either. I think they were really just trying to build this fight between Sarah and Ben and not having his powerful partner being able to win and save the day. So production, yeah.
I would have found it interesting still to see Sarah and Ben in trouble, having to scramble, let the game play out organically. They do put Sarah and Ben together as a partnership here. So in some ways that could be a good and a bad thing because they're both physically reasonably capable. I would say Sarah definitely is really dominant. Ben has been getting second in a lot of these dailies up until this point. So maybe you're right. They put them together to make a guaranteed strong pairing here. But if the wrong people won here, if it wasn't a Desi, for instance, who won the daily, who's got a really close connection with Ben because they played a season together back in the day, and I do believe Desi voted for him to win that season as well. They've got a connection, both being where's Ben from? Is he from the South? I know that Desi is. I feel like there's that connection that they've got,
Sure.
And Ben felt really comfortable with Desi winning. He said, it's a guarantee. I'm not going in. So clearly he's got those connections there. So he's lucky in this configuration that he wasn't in danger.
Well, definitely it seems like Desi is on Team Sarah and Ben. When you see when Tyson was having his little sermon about, like, if you can't play the game, like, whatever he was saying, it seemed like Desi was not there and she was hanging out with Ben and Sarah and kind of agreeing with them and their gameplay. So I think that she's Team Ben. I don't think she's on Team Tyson at all.
I think Tyson only has Danny at this point because Dom seems closer to Desi as well. So I really think Tyson is kind of, for some other reason, is sort of sitting at the outskirts of that Survivor alliance, which is interesting to see. And maybe the reason he's been safe up until this point is the fact that he's been winning a lot, and that has kept him safe.
I think so, but I also think that he's been branching out more than, say, the Survivor players, as he has been known around being an honorary Love Island girl. So, I mean, he's getting really close with them. He's making this alliance of, if anybody has cash, let's just go for it and look out for each other kind of thing. So, I mean, he's making alliances kind of out in the open, and everybody is cool with it, and everybody's going to look out, and it ultimately helps him in the long run. I want to say one thing about this algorithm, and my biggest problem with it is that every season there is an element to a season where you can be like, oh, did production have their hand in this? Did production have their hand in that? Final Reckoning finals. Oh, it just seemed like that was all production wanting to have Ashley win the money kind of thing. This is just everything that I hate about thinking that the production has their hand in something. Like, they could manufacture all this stuff and be like, well, we're just going to put people together. This is people's games on the line here. Like, I would want this random and let the game play out rather than, oh, well, Ben and Sarah will be good, so we're going to put Angela and Dom together, even though they were partnered up with each other in episode 4. So now 2 episodes later, they're partnered up together. And it's like, what if Dom, like, I don't know, tripped on the pier and then fell in the water and couldn't be resuscitated? He gets DQ'd, and then bam, they're going into the elimination, and they do something where they have to plug a pipe and he can't plug it again. And then they go home, and it's like,
he's not doing the plumbing around the house. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like, that sucked because they didn't even follow their own rules because they're trying to do all this stuff. Like, this is just the hands, and I don't like that. I want transparency. I want it to actually be random. I don't care how many times TJ gets paid to say that it's perfect and random. It's not. It's not perfect nor random. It's a lie on the chalkboard. Thank you. But
I literally just zoomed in to see what your chalkboard said.
But that's the problem I have with it. It's such a big part as we saw in this episode, I mean, Tyson could have went home because of his partners. Luckily, he hadn't had Kira before, but it's like, this is the crux of the whole thing. This is the crux of the episode. Whoever you get partnered with, that's your ticket for the rest of this episode. That's your ticket for 2 days. Whether you win or lose the daily challenge, and whether you win or lose in an elimination. And it's such a big part of your whole journey that to leave it in the hands of the production team to be like, it's ridiculous.
Why couldn't Sarah be with Ben? And Ben would have been with Angela, which would have been a fine pairing. I think that would be an interesting pairing. Like, what if
It would have been.
What if Ben and Angela win the daily, and like they both have completely different agendas as to what they would want to have happened, and they would have to like really come to some sort of agreement, go against somebody else other than Tyson, other than Sarah. Like, it would have been, I think, very interesting to see what would have happened if they just allowed other actual possible matchups to match up. Like, I think that would have been a great episode of TV to see them doing this particular challenge, because I could see Angela and Ben doing well, because Ben didn't mess up his part of the challenge. And Angela, I think they came in third, right? So, or second or third. So she still did well with Dom. So she would have done equally as well, I'm sure, with Ben. And so that would have been very, very interesting, I think.
Well, and even to that fact, I mean, Dom was talking about how he was like an ace in finance. So if Sarah would have found that or been more detail oriented, what if, and then Dom and Sarah get into power. I mean, Dom hates Tyson as much as Sarah does, it seems, by the edit and the confessionals. That would have been legit. And if they would have just let it happen, it could have happened. I mean, they could have gotten what they really wanted. But like we were talking about, they manufactured.
Maybe they didn't see Dom's. Maybe they didn't see Dom's CV before he got there. They didn't realize that he had a bachelor's in finance. Let's be honest. They don't look at the CVs of these people when they go out there, so they underestimated him.
They barely Google these people before they put them on a show. They're just like, what? A simple Google search? They have some racist stuff online? Who knows? I mean, we're not going to check it. And then 6 weeks or 2 weeks into the main season, it's all you can see on Twitter. With
any press is good press with the challenge. Any press is good press. If they're talking about us, then that's good. I did want to circle back. I wanted to circle back. You guys were going on such a good rant. I didn't want to jump in the middle there because I agree with everything when it comes to the algorithm, right? But let's look back at Tyson's game. He used Cash as a pawn last episode to do a bit of his dirty work, and Cash turns it around a little bit here. She does a really good bit of backtracking, going to Sarah, throwing Tyson under the bus, saying I was such a victim here, Tyson was the one who wanted this to happen, and I felt intimidated. He was the great guy who keeps winning every single time. I didn't want to upset him, but he told me that, Sarah, this is your game. You get close to people and then you cut them really badly. So she's trying to justify what she did here, because she does seem to be pretty close to Sarah, but she gets away with this. Sarah does say, yes, this is not Cash's game. She's not, she's probably thinking in her mind, Cash is not from these cutthroat games where we have to vote people out. It's Tyson. He's the one that I need to go after. And she's very razor focused on him. And I think Sarah takes it extra personal. She mentions a few times here, so we can talk about the Cash side of it and also the Sarah side of it. She takes it personal because she feels they should have respected each other as being winners from Survivor who played in the same season. She said that she felt disrespected here. Chantal, thoughts on Sarah, the conversation with Cash, and how she's feeling disrespected at this point?
The thing with Sarah is nobody else is allowed to do to her what she does to other people. So on her seasons of Survivor, and she's played good games. I don't enjoy necessarily the type of game that she plays, but she's on her winter season, like she deserved her win, but she brings people in, lies to her face, and then stabs them in their back. That is her game style. And so what Tyson was saying, I do not think was untrue. And the fact that I think that Sarah is just mad that Tyson did it first, that she wanted to be like, okay, Survivor strong until Sarah decides that it's Survivor strong no more. And I think that she's just mad that Tyson got to her first. Now on Tyson, I think it was on his podcast last week, he said that he was doing it because Cache brought in that as an option. And he was like, Okay, that's actually a good idea. Like, she brought in the fact that Leo is somebody that she doesn't want to be partnered with, and that actually swayed him in order to want to throw in Sarah and Leo, because of it gave a better reason to be able to do it, because and he was doing it kind of because Cachet suggested that that's who she wanted. And so I get that she's trying to make nice with Sarah, because we did see her in earlier scenes to, like talking about Cinco with her, and like they did seem to have some sort of bond building. But to me, the whole thing seemed exactly what Sarah does, is he brings people in close to her. And I think that Cash is very disposable to Sarah. So I want to see how it plays out. But I think because Cash is not familiar with either of their games, she's just taking, Sarah at her word and not Tyson at his. And I think that she might get bruised in the end. But it does seem like she does forgive Tyson, because I think I mentioned this before. Her and Shannon were doing an Instagram live, and Tyson was in the chat and chatting with them. And they're like, "Oh, we love you, Tyson. We love you. We love you." And so it seems as though they must have mended fences. But maybe she learns the hard way about Sarah, and Tyson gets to do a nice big "I told you so."
I think this worked out way better for Cachet doing it this way, because she mentioned that she wanted to give Sarah the heads up. Coming to her after the fact, and then how apologetic she was, and she was crying and like trying to have this heart to heart one-on-one with Sarah, and Sarah just takes it and goes, "Oh, she was manipulated by Tyson to do this." And it just plays so well for her game, because she got to do the move on Sarah and Leo, and then it backfiring, but it's all eyes on Tyson for this. And Cachet is not even on the radar at this point. I think it just worked out perfectly that Cachet was like, "Oh, I would have told her, but Tyson told me not to." It worked out for you in the long run by that point, because it really, it was just perfect. I think it was just really, really good for Cachet's game.
I'm super in on Cash and Justine. Like, those are like the
They're
two. I came into the season, didn't know them. I've mentioned it a few times. Don't watch Love Island, but what they've brought to this season, I endorse them going over to the main show like tomorrow, if possible. But if the rumors are true about them not getting paid the same amount of money, then maybe MTV should look at that, because we want to get some of these players that, to me, like, if I've got a low expectation coming in or no expectation, and you're hitting it out of the park like you're doing right now, then hats off to you. Cash played it well for me. I think that she definitely has a little bit. She knows what she's doing. I don't think she's fooled by Sarah. I think she's playing Sarah right now. And Sarah's looking away from her at this stage. She is playing with a very venomous, poisonous snake, though. And that snake might still bite her down the line, because let's be honest, if Cash and Sarah do go head to head in a hall brawl, or they do go head to head in a finale, Sarah's going to run circles around her. So at some point, shots will need to be taken here.
And we know that the last two things are Hall Brawl and a pole wrestle are the two eliminations coming up, right? Because we saw those in the preview. There's only 4 episodes left. So we're going to see some headbangers coming up, I believe.
I think there's going to be 13 episodes this season.
Oh, okay. I only saw on the wiki that was 10. Okay.
Question here for you, Chantal. I don't think myself and Drew can answer this one, but Tatiana saying, is it just me, or is there something slightly attractive about Ben?
Zero. I do not think Ben is attractive at all. And then also, that's something that I heard watching Shannon and Derek X on Robin's podcast. They did some interviews with them, and they said that after the elimination, when Sarah went down with Leo and they came out victorious, coming back into the house, they could cut the tension with the knife, and that it was so uncomfortable in there that Ben was pacing back and forth because he was so angry that they had to have security sleeping in the rooms or bunkers or whatever with them, just to protect them and to allow them to know that if anything were to happen, there would be somebody there to protect them and keep their safety. So I think that's very unattractive. And I think that might have been what spurred the conversation that Tyson had, being like, if it's just a game, it's just a game. Like, I got to shake your hand, like that whole thing. I think it was because Ben was coming off as aggressive in their physical space, not aggressive in the game. Like, come at me in the game, like, throw me down, like react within the game. But bringing on a threatening presence inside our living environment. I don't know. I don't think that that's appropriate. And that's another reason why I don't find him attractive, because I don't like seeing that side of him.
Yeah,
I
that's
heard
fair.
somebody in my comment section to my review and recap. I didn't get to finish Tyson's podcast this week, but he did mention, or somebody mentioned in my comment section, that Tyson mentioned that there was an altercation or an argument between Dom and Ben, to where Dom had to pack up his stuff and he moved bunks because he didn't want to sleep next to or any closer to Ben after that argument. And he said that he was actually surprised that it wasn't shown on the show. So
Because they want to keep Ben in a good light, I'm sure.
what the hell?
Ben winning?
Challenge. So great
Has
job.
Ben winning? They're
He's
protecting him.
not
He's got that.
qualified yet, so I'll take it as a no right now.
Well, Christian Gull is thinking that it's going to be a survivor who's going to win this season. So who knows? Ben could still be in the running. Also here, Baby Ice is rooting for Team Sarah and Ben. I still am as well, but it doesn't mean that I don't like Tyson. I like to, if I had to choose, like I think we had this conversation last week, Tyson always, but I love Sarah and Ben as well. Like they're Survivor. Survivor's strong
They're
all the way to the end.
so unlikable to me. I'm sorry. People are like getting at me and be like, "Is this a Sarah hate podcast?" It's like kinda.
Can I just put this up there? I didn't
not
see
mine, not
Chris's
yours.
hands.
Not mine.
for a
Mine is a
while.
Sarah Love podcast. Just want to clarify that for any Survivor fans listening to this. Yeah,
I just
Drew?
want to throw this up there. I don't think I saw. I thought I saw like Chris's hands move quite a bit. And do we think that Chris is Baby Ice in an alternate account? I mean, he's giving himself
Typing.
saying like, "Oh, I'm Baby Ice. That's a great pick on that fantasy draft." I'm
Baby
gonna
Ice,
do
we're
what
gonna have to
Baby
get
Ice
you-
is saying, and now he's like,
I will
"Oh,
not-
I love Ben and Sarah. Oh, Baby Ice loves them too. Wow, I love them too. This is crazy."
Oh my god, it's like what's it the movie Face Off when she's like, "I am Castor Troy," like Ben's gonna Chris is gonna be like, "I am Baby Ice."
Next on the podcast, we'll have to have Baby Ice here to clear my name. We'll have to be like a special guest on one of these recaps in the future. One of the people we're not talking about, and I thought this was a very smart question being asked here by Amy Sue in the live chat, because we spoke about Cash playing a great game, but I think Kayla is absolutely killing it. Amy Sue here is asking, why isn't Kayla being implicated in any of this? It seems like she's instigated the whole thing last episode when she had a conversation with Tyson. So Kayla is not even on the radar here. Tyson's not giving her away. She must be playing a really subtle game at this stage at the moment, Drew.
Yeah, I mean, Tyson said on his podcast, the beginning portion, he called their quadrilogy or whatever 4 people names are.
Quadrant?
He said they are the axis of anger, and he named Sarah, Ben, Leo, and Kayla as the 4 in the axis of anger alliance that he named them. So Kayla seems to be very close with Sarah and Ben. What?
Who named the quadrant?
That was Tyson. Tyson said that he
Okay.
named Sarah, Ben, Kayla, and Leo the axis of anger. And I guess Kayla's really close with Sarah and Ben at this point, and moving forward with them.
Kayla. I think she's also not necessarily threatening for
Mhm.
anybody, and because she hasn't won daily yet, she's also someone easy to throw in, and so that could also be why she's not involved fully in some of like the conversations, and she's not fully pulled into the big alliance, because the big alliance is for the people that have won money. And so right now Ben and Sarah are not in that big alliance because they haven't won money. Same with her, same with Leo, and so that could also be a reason why she's able to gravitate towards them, because of the fact that she hasn't won any money. And the big alliance now can just throw any of those people in because it would be easy and it's not going to go against their Moneybags alliance.
Yeah. Margie here in the live is asking, are we going to see challenges from other countries? Margie, yes. There is going to be a worldwide tournament to see who's going to be the global champion of the challenge. And the winners of this challenge will go up against, I believe, Argentina, Australia, the UK. I saw a trailer with MTV Legends in there, so I've got a feeling they might put in 1 or 2 legends from the main show in there as well to represent and go for this title. We're hoping. I think they need that. At this point, I would say they need that extra spice. This season's been good, but you throw two of those veterans in there that have played it for that much longer. I think that brings the whole challenge fandom together. And even those people that feel like, why didn't they do it with the main show, I guess, players included in this season as well. But I've been enjoying it as a separate thing on its own as it's evolved at this point. I think that it's good that we're getting access to potentially new stars that can, either come into the main show or they can hopefully do something great with this. It's the problem that we have here, Chantal, is that the production team has proven to us so many times in the past that even if they've got the recipe for success, they may not choose it, and they may fiddle or just fumble it. And that's sad to know.
I have to say, though, at this point, almost anybody that from this season they can bring onto the main season. I'd rather them over Josh. I'd rather them over Fessy. I'd rather them over Kayla. What's her name? Casey.
Rather over
like
Tori.
I can't remember her name. Like, and she's been on my street for like 4 years. Like, I don't remember her name. Yeah, I would rather than anybody, including David. David can come on that season. I'd
Really?
prefer him over Casey, over all the people that I just mentioned. So anybody from this season so far, I would rather see them on the main show than the people that I named. So I'm fine with what's been going on here. I like
definitely the TNT take here. Definitely the TNT take. So any person from this season, even Ben or Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't enjoy them. But if they go on to the main season, they'd probably be humbled. So, maybe I want to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Well,
I have a question. Did you say that the challenge Australia has already started filming? Because I'm trying to think about the timeline for all this. Because if it's 13 episodes, like, that's 3 months. Like, that's a long time to have 3 other shows to air and overlap. Like, when are we going to get the tournament? Next year?
I feel like it's going to be next year at this point because they haven't even started the Argentinian and the UK one. So I don't see it happening before mid to end of next year, to be honest, the way things are working out at the moment.
Sorry, I see Delora. Enzo? I'd rather Enzo. I'm sorry. I'd rather Enzo over Fessy. I would. I would.
The Mau.
I would.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think that the challenge Australia, like, I'm not too sure actually. I've heard that there is a few cast lists being thrown out there about the challenge Australia. I do believe that the filming is either taking place right now or it will be taking place within the next couple of weeks. It's kind of overlapping with the challenge with Survivor Heroes versus Villains in Australia.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I'm getting like confused by some certain T accounts that are trying to give out dates and try to help out like the challenge universe of like trying to figure out when the timelines are, because they mentioned that sometime in August that the Australia one was going to start. Then next month was when Argentina was going to start. And then they said that the actual tournament was going to start taking place in October, but we haven't even done anything with the UK. So I'm just like, and then the whole thing with a whole bunch of different casts for the Australia one, and Chris is confused, and that makes me confused because I don't know what's up and what's down at this point. So I'm as confused as what the information is coming out, because I too am trying to look at the dates and trying to lock in, but it seems like we don't have a full cast list leaked yet. And then the dates aren't really adding up to where they're saying that the tournament is going to actually start taking place in October, when UK doesn't even seem like they are even in casting or haven't even got to casting yet. So
I want to know, like, what
confused.
network. I want to know what network in the UK is. They did put it up before, didn't they? Because I heard that Survivor UK was just picked up, so they're reviving Survivor UK. So like now they've got another reality TV show with this reality TV show. Is it going to be on the same network? Are they going to dip into the same talent pool for it? How's that going to work? You know, that's. Shel, did you hear about this?
That one. I want to be on TV Talks with Tom. He's like, I'm gonna maybe should audition, and I was like, maybe I'm gonna try and see if I can, because sometimes the UK allows Canadians to do things, so I'm gonna see if I can. And like, I have family over there, so I can have a resident, but I don't have the nationality because, long story, my parents were never married, so I can't assume the nationality of my father, who was born in England, and so
really,
sorry, yeah,
that's crazy. Like, I would have thought that you should have ancestral, like,
no.
like Oh, okay. Well, we'll
It's
talk
not on
about
the
that
father
offline.
side. Not
We'll
on the
talk
father
about that
side.
offline
Yeah,
because
I know, it's annoying.
that sounds strange to me. But yeah, like I mean, if you could get your British passport, that'd be awesome. Also, Chantal, why is there no Canadian challenge? Is there not enough Canadian fans, you think, or they
It's
just think
because
Canadians
Canada's
are too
just
close
too
to the?
small. There's
Hmm.
only like the amount of people in all of Canada is like the amount of people in New York. Like it's just it's just so there's only 30 million people in Canada in general, so we don't have enough, I think, funding. A lot of people get really annoyed with Big Brother Canada because there's so much product placement. Like all the competitions have like some sort of sponsor. It becomes really sponsor heavy to be able to run similar shows that I think that they just don't have the funds to be able to do it. It
Hmm.
seems like I can't even like for Big Brother Canada, I think they give out 100 grand. They give out $750,000 in the States.
Is it
So
also to do with the cultural appetite for reality TV in Canada? Do you think that there's a strong craving and a viewing of these types of shows, for instance?
I
Because
mean, yes, but
Australia's
it's
only got
still going
20
to be
million.
10 times less, though, right? Like if a
Hmm.
million people are watching, 10 million people would be watching in the States. So it doesn't really balance out. I don't think the numbers.
Yeah. Australia's only got like 20, I think 20 million people, so it's less than Canada, and they get
Dang.
their own show. It's a massive country. Like the land mass of Australia is the same as the USA, the whole
Yeah,
of the
Canada's is
USA,
bigger than the USA, which is also wild to me.
which is
Land mass.
crazy. Yeah.
I do
Sorry, you were
want
going to
to
say something, Drew.
I just want to throw this last information out there. It sounds like also from other T accounts that who is going to be eligible for this global competition, at least from what I read on one of their tweets, is that it's not going to be just champions. It's going to be like champs versus stars rules, where it's going to be people are going to be called if they are a champion, if
Or
they made
finale.
it to a finals. And I've even heard that if they just make it far into a season, that they would be possibly called, aka Josh was used as an example of somebody who could potentially be on the global championship, because if he's available and nobody else agrees, then they're going to fudge the numbers and be like, you're going to have to go up against a winner
We're gonna
from Big Brother, but not from the challenge. But he's been on the challenge, but he's a winner from Big Brother. So they're fudging the rules and the lines up a little bit of like, oh, they'll show the challenge legend still photos in whatever trailer that we saw, but they're looking like they're kind of trying to
This
switch the
podcast
lines a
is,
little
is
bit.
a dangerous territory of completely going off the rails here. So I'll just say something just really quick on this. This is why you don't announce what you're going to do a year and a half, 2 years in advance, because then you get locked into something that people think you're going to do, and then you change it up and it looks like you're not sure. You're just putting these things together like they put the daily challenges and the finales together literally as people are running the finale, like we had with Nehemiah and Melinda when they ran into a cave and they didn't have it set up for them. This is what it's looking like. They don't know what they're going to do at the end. But that this will also be a reason for them to try and get Tyson and incentivize him to get back on there if he maybe doesn't make it to the end, if he gets voted out early because he's
Maybe
such a big
that's why
star
they're
this
doing
season.
it.
Easily, I think it could be something like that. But let's get back to this episode, the daily challenge. We've gone completely on a tangent here, as we do on this specific podcast. But we've got this daily challenge where they've got to jump from one container to a podium in the middle or like a floating area, and then they have to get color coded lock combinations and then go down and do like a math puzzle to get to the end. Some people struggle with this a little bit more than others. Obviously, Kira had some issues prior to going in there. We spoke about that a little bit. So even though Tyson does his part successfully, they get disqualified. And for the life of me, I can't remember who the second team was that got disqualified. Who was the second team here that got disqualified? Ultimately, Enzo. Obviously, Enzo being scared of heights and not being able to jump to get to the end. And Justine gets pulled down with him here. And I feel for Justine because she's a champion. She's someone who's won a daily. She's super capable, but she just gets stuck with Enzo on the wrong challenge here. And if you've got a fear of heights, I think we do underestimate, if you've got a fear of heights falling into water, how traumatizing it potentially can be. But it was sad not to see him at least attempt it because physically he seems capable.
I'm always for the attempt. because I know that how much better it feels to try something and conquer a fear, like then being like, oh, I didn't do it, I should have given it. And then just, afterward being like, oh, I should have tried, I should have tried, I should have tried. And so I just wanted him to try. Kira didn't do a good job, and she kind of just like held onto the rope and fell and flinged into the water. It looked awful, but she at least tried. I wish that he had, but I didn't want Tyson to go directly in. So I was like, okay, well, I'd rather Enzo and Justine to go directly in, but I really hope that they would come back because I don't want Justine to leave the game.
I wonder if Enzo and Justine were one of the first teams to go, because on Tyson's podcast, he said that the order was all messed up and that he said he looked too calm if he went before Enzo. So he was like, I'm pretty sure Enzo went before us. And I knew that he didn't make it. So just me being on the platform, I felt like we were going to make it farther. So that's why when Kira was like, should I try again? He was like, if you can, instead of being like, get up, hurry up, get up. Like, yeah. So I think it's interesting. Like, I feel like that's what it was, that maybe he was one of the first ones up and then he was like freaking out a little bit. And then he didn't go while everybody else was like, cool, we could just do our thing. We'll hang out, run around, do whatever. So I think that's interesting to think about. But yeah, I really wish he would have tried. But I mean, yeah, Justine killing it in elimination. So keep going. But if Enzo and Justine would have left this episode, I would have freaked out. I would have freaked out on everything. It would have been 30 minutes of a rant about how the algorithm is flawed and Justine is gone on my review and recap this past week. It would have been a mess. It would have been a hot mess.
I kind of wish I can see that alternate universe.
No, Drew losing his mind is not a good thing. We witnessed that when we did our preseason draft picks for season 38. I think I broke Drew. Like I legitimately broke him in that draft. So you guys will really enjoy it now.
Both of y'all did.
He's mad at me. He was the most mad at me he's ever been, and I felt really I was like, oh no, Drew hates me.
Drew went silent on us for like a week until the next podcast did not talk to us. So that's some fun for you guys to look out for in the future. Also in this episode we had Leo, who has been struggling with water challenges, and he gives us a little bit of an insight here that he's had a traumatic experience with water, nearly drowning, and that's why he's afraid of jumping into water. And Leo, to me, he's a tryhard in the confessionals. I don't know what it is this season. I'm just not enjoying Leo like I enjoyed him on The Amazing Race, but I think he's a nice guy. I think he's a super nice guy. And it was cool to see him do this. And I think it's because maybe the producers are trying to egg him on to be like a bit extra in those confessionals, and he's just not being himself, which Leo himself doing confessionals on The Amazing Race was amazing. Like he was one of my favorites. Like the Ganimals were one of my favorite teams. I don't know what it is, Chantel, but he's just a little bit off, but I did like seeing him push through this fear that he had and completing it, and also seeing him celebrate with TJ at the end. That's the type of stuff I just really enjoy about the challenge, seeing people push past their limits.
Absolutely. We had like everybody on the sidelines like, Leo, and he does it. He swings across the thing and he's like, ta-da! Like, he was reveling in the fact that he was able to doggy paddle his way over and still be able to complete the daily. So I love when people are able to do that. That's what I like about the challenge in general, that usually you have just ordinary people that ends up being able to do extraordinary things, and seeing their growth in that way, I find it very interesting about the challenge. That's kind of why I personally am never usually love like the American Ninja Warrior vibe or the Jenny West or whatever. When they come in really super physical and capable, it just like, to me, I kind of like people that are just normal coming and getting good at the challenge. And so yeah, I was really happy with Leo being able to overcome and do well. I think what the issue is with why we're not enjoying Leo's confessionals is that he's attacking, well, my favorites anyways. So like at the beginning of this episode, he's talking about the snakes and Tyson's this rattlesnake and Angela's the anaconda, or vice versa, or whatever he said. And I'm just like, why are you throwing daggers at these people? Like they actually aren't they're just playing the game, and it just so happens that you're not good at the game. If he was better at the game, maybe I would feel better about it. I don't know, but it just seems
I don't know. He seems like he's punching like low hanging fruit. I don't know. It's just it's not.
Well, he
vibing
has
with it as
to.
well.
He has to, Chantel. Like, I'll defend him in this. Like, I don't know. I think it's in the delivery that it's coming across not right for me. Like, it feels a bit strange. But he has to throw punches. Like, if you're in a ring and someone's throwing punches at you, if you're just going to try and bob and weave, at some point you're going to get hit in the face. And he's been thrown into the arena multiple times. It was multiple times or once now, but he's been thrown in by Tyson at least. If someone throws me in, I'll be salty. I'll be bitter,
I'll be
like Drew
salty,
said.
sure.
Even
But he's
Tyson
just
said
annoying about
that
it.
he
I don't
would be
know.
salty and bitter as well. But I think it's the delivery. Like, I do agree with you. The delivery is slightly off. I don't mind him taking shots back at Tyson, though. I mean, he's allowed to. He's playing this game as well,
It just kind of sounds like he's whinging and moaning. I don't know. So I don't know. It's just like there's something about how it is.
I get you. I'm with you on that.
First of all, he missed a big opportunity. Instead of Rattlesnake Tyson, he should have said Python Tyson or Python Tyson. But I've talked to, I think we've mentioned it before, but it's like on The Amazing Race, you're basically out wherever you're at and you're just doing the confessionals on the road. You're doing it right before you're taking off to do a leg or something. So it's maybe having somebody there. It's not in a studio. It's not the green screen. Maybe it feels different that you don't have to feel like you have to scream or talk. You're about to run off in like 5 minutes. When it's in a studio with a green screen, so many lights, there's probably like 5 producers in there, 5 to 15 producers. I've said the same thing about Sarah. She seems super stiff compared to what I remember her confessionals being on Survivor. When you're just out there, it's probably one-on-one. She's sitting on a tree. She's like out in the open, and then there's just one other camera person, and then she gets into this confessional environment and she just seems so stiff. She gets Brad eyes and they get really big at certain points every single confessional, and she's like, Tyson is doing something crazy and I can't trust him ever again, kind of thing. So
is that her voice?
I guess so. I mean, I can mime her better than I can do her voice, but whatever. But it's just, I think it's just a weird environment for a lot of these players who are normally like on the move, on the go, always outside, comparatively. But Tyson seems super chill at it. So like, I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting you.
No.
You get like, I just got excited about this, but you think about this, Chantel, like, you're someone who's done a lot of acting, you've been on stage, when you get lights in your face, there's like a different thing that comes with that. If you're not used to having lights in your face, you're in a room where you potentially, if you're not used to that exposure where, like Drew said, you're out normally on an island and there's bright natural lighting and you're out running the race, like maybe it feels more organic, it feels more natural compared to having those lights in your face with these big cameras and a producer telling you, I don't know, egging you on. Like, I feel like there must be something about the environment that's different.
I can see that being a thing. I think also, just to piggyback on both of of you are saying, I think that in the other confessional styles, they're kind of only talking about their own game. And it seems like in the challenge, they're probably being asked to talk about their relationships with a lot of other different people. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out because I'm sure that the producers are egging on these like confessionals that have to do with like being mad at the people that have wronged you. Maybe they don't ask them the same type of questions on Survivor or The Amazing Race as they do to kind of instigate stuff maybe on the challenge. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know if I even agree with that, but we'll see.
I don't know how Drew does it. Like every season he's able to do these impressions of players that are out there. Like maybe you should be the actor, Drew, and go out there and perform for us with the way you've been going.
That was the first time try, so I don't want to even try it a second time. I'm not going to get greedy. I'll take it. If people are saying it's good, I'll take it.
we need someone at some point after like 3 or 4 seasons of this just to clip your impressions and like put it into like a compilation of all these different players.
Yeah, it's going to go viral.
I could see it go viral. Obviously, on this specific challenge, we spoke about it a little bit, but David and Desi, they're going to pull it out. They're going to win against all odds. I was so happy for Desi, not happy that she's in Chantel's team and she's getting Chantel points because she's already so far ahead. She doesn't need all of the points coming her way, but awesome performance from her. She hasn't had much of an opportunity to show her capabilities. And also, they talk about the fact that both David and Desi are sort of on the outside, they're not a part of the vote. And I wanted to talk a little bit about David, because David gets a lot of heat, a lot of flack from reality TV fans. I feel like he's like the stepchild, the foster child of reality TV, where people are like, we don't claim him. But, it was cool to see this real raw emotion from him this episode as well, talking about how much this would mean to him to win it. This is potentially that winner's edit.
That's
we're
where
talking about
right
to
where
tell.
I thought about it. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
It hit me.
you're doing this
It
for
hit
your
me.
mom? Oh, we've never heard like this whole episode. We hear that he's playing a game. Like, he's talking to Enzo, saying like, "Hey, Enzo, like, all we have to do, we gotta win, we gotta win." Then talking about how he wants to protect Enzo. Then he's doing this for his mom. That like he is playing the game, even though we haven't been seeing him or hearing his confessionals. And so that is exactly the point where I was like, is this soundbite, this confessional in here because they're going to be referencing that for his winners edit when he wins the game? That's where I found it. That's where my first inclination that could be a possibility.
Not to get too far ahead, but can I just say, what is my luck that the week one of my players wins into power, or Dave of all people win into power, two of my players get DQ'd to get me -2 points each, to where I get net 1 point for David winning in a daily challenge. Of course it would happen. Of course it would happen, right?
Oh,
no. But perfect opportunity here. Do you guys feel like Desi and David used this opportunity correctly to gain that valuable information, to make themselves more important now for these warring factions within the house moving forward? Because they sort of complained that they didn't have the opportunity to talk to people before this. I don't feel like we saw much. Like, I mean, the only scene we saw, and this could be that they have done a lot more than what we saw, was really the one that they spoke to both of those that were going to go in, to Justine and them for going in. So do you guys feel like they actually took the opportunity here that they needed to?
Well, we know that Tyson put in some work and told David, probably David and Desi, but David specifically, that like, hey, we're not taking shots at the winners or anybody with money that could be qualifying them for the finals. So, you don't want to start that off, because if you do throw somebody in that has money, then you're going to have all the other people that have money that it's going to be really easily to just going to throw you in next time. So I think that fear for David was one thing. And I know that Enzo says like, throw me down, Tyson. Like, I'll go against Tyson. Like, I need his money, whatever. I think that it's also better for David to have Enzo in the house, since Enzo, we learn, is his ride or die in this particular game. And he wants to protect him. So I think even though Enzo says that he wants Tyson, and it would be a big move, and Tyson was worried about David wanting to make a big move to make a name for himself, whatever, I think that it was smarter for him to put down somebody that he believed that Enzo could win against more likely than Tyson, and not start that war, the winners war, the money war, with everybody. So I do think that he made the right decision in the end of who to throw down. If he had done maybe Kayla, and who's Kayla with? Leo, that would have been another one that would be not too bad to throw down as well. But I think it was fine.
That would have been the safest route, is Leo and Kayla. So I was surprised that they didn't actually take the shot at them. But also, if Kayla and Leo are working close with Ben and Sarah, and then Desi is also working closer with Ben and Sarah than Tyson, then she wouldn't want to take that shot. I thought this was actually smart. I know that Alyssa gets all angry and hurt that her BFF, Derek, was thrown in the line of fire. But I thought that this was actually rather interesting, that David would want to help out Enzo, which ultimately helps him back out, because he's way closer with Enzo than Derek, I'm sure of. And then also Shannon is hurt. She talked about how she was hurting in this episode. And so what if they're doing something physical, or have to do something physical, and Shannon and David get paired up with each other next episode? I think that was smart, even though Alyssa's like, oh, you're putting in a hurt girl. Oh, you're so smart there, David. It's like, okay, girl, calm down. You're really cringe, because that ultimately hurt Alyssa's game so bad, because Derek is out. That's her number one. And then Shannon is a shield. If she is hurt, she is more apt to lose in a daily challenge or be thrown in next time. So Alyssa's like looking at that like, that's a perfect shield. Derek and Shannon staying in this game, please. And it's like, girl, just because your game is blowing up doesn't mean that this dude made a terrible move.
It wasn't that bad.
So
I mean,
calm
it's going
yourself down.
against Big Brother, I guess, is what she's saying. But it's like, sorry, you set the precedence here. Like, you started going against Big Brother first. So sorry, it had to be Derek, but
Yeah, she
oops.
took those shots way too early, and I think it's an element of some of these players coming into this game not knowing the game yet that they're playing and not fully feeling it out, and just being so eager to make those moves early on just to get one up on that faction that got one up on them in Big Brother. You know,
I did hear though that one of the reasons why Alyssa made that move with X then was because the other pairings that Xavier had left were very strong winners or people, so that he would most likely be winning power, and they might not get that opportunity again. So they were kind of taking the shot when because they thought they won't have another chance later.
That's fair. But who does she have outside of Colin? Not that many people in the game after this, so she's going to have to be paired with the right person to be able to take a shot here, Drew.
Yeah, I think she is working very closely with Tyson though, because one, she does have money, and two, apparently last week she was paired up with David, and Cache brought up, why don't we put Alyssa and David into the elimination? And Tyson vetoed that down really quickly. It was like, we're not targeting Alyssa. So I think Alyssa's working closely with Tyson, who is a very strong person to have in your corner. It's just that Derek is someone she could trust 100%. She doesn't know probably Tyson too well on like a personal level. So she doesn't know if he's going to turn around and throw her in at a moment's notice. So I think that's where it's like, I have Tyson helping me, but I'm also worried that he could just easily throw me in when I know Derek, if he gets power, he's not going to throw me in no matter what type of thing.
Now, I haven't been on social media all that often in the last couple of weeks, but the few times that I have been on there, I've also noticed that Alyssa and Angela seems to be getting along really well on social media in any case. So I'm assuming that's through the Tyson connection, that potentially there are some people there that may protect Alyssa still in the game. I know there's a few people here in the chat that are not happy about the fact that she turned on X and that she blew her own game up, but maybe she does still have a little bit of room to maneuver here in the game at this point. And like Drew said, we could be seeing some foreshadowing here for David's game being in trouble if that is the case, if that whole faction at some point does go for him, unless he's safe because he's a winner.
I think he'll be safe because he's a winner at this right now. I think that they're going to stick to that story as long as they can. But one thing though I have to say though about Alyssa's game is that she does seem to be really friendly with a lot of people. So at her birthday in Miami, we saw all the Instagram lives, Instagram stories of like, it was Alyssa, Angela was there, Derek X was there, Claire was there, Kylan was there. Who else am I forgetting? Cache was there. Shannon was there. So these were all people that were celebrating. If I didn't say Kayla's name already, Kayla was there. James was there. And they were all having lots of fun for Alyssa's birthday. And so that seems to me that she doesn't have bad blood with any of those people that are in that I just
was
mentioned.
X there?
Xavier? No, he wasn't there. No. I think that relationship's done for sure. But I'm fine with that.
I just want to throw this out there. What I'm believing Alyssa could be like, or the player that I feel like comparison wise, is that Alyssa is very similar in my eyes to an Anissa, who is very strong connections with people. She can work hard in these daily challenges, but she is one of those players who are smaller in stature that, yes, she has the money now, but as we get closer to the eliminations or closer to the finals, I mean, if somebody is looking out for somebody else for the finals or for a possible finals pairing, if they are playing in pairs, could there be like, okay, well, Desi wants to go up against somebody who is somebody that she believes she can beat, and say like, oh, I want to go against the smallest woman in the house. And if Sarah and Angela and Alyssa are left in the game, she's going to be like, well, I kind of want to go up against Alyssa. So I feel like that's where the game could go, that she is padded right now, but as we move further and more people start falling off, more weaker pairings that production likes to make randomly selected be put together, get taken out over and over and over again, like then we get to the point where it's rubber meets the road and we got all strong people left. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna pick who I could think I could win the easiest on, and whoever is stronger in connections with it, or if you're in a terrible partnership and you get thrown into the elimination via last place. I mean, it's gonna be a tough battle moving forward. But that's how I kind of saw it while everybody was talking in my brain, that if Alyssa is down the line having to
Forced to
face
go
off
and get
against
someone.
Desi, Sarah, or she's going to be the first one chosen. If somebody is like, you get your first shot, I want to run the finals with you, tell me a name and I'll throw whoever you want into the elimination. They're going to say Alyssa, and they're going to be like, cool, okay. That's what I think.
Yep.
I can see that happening for sure.
Chasing Cabrine here in the chat says DX actually said in one of his exit interviews that when David Desi announced their choice, Cache and Kylan volunteered to go in instead since Shannon was hurt, and Kai thought he could beat Enzo, but DX and Shannon turned him down and they regret it now. So it's interesting that did not make the screen. I feel like that would have been really good drama.
That's really stupid though.
Yeah.
Did we not learn anything from Final Reckoning? You just let whoever wants to go into the elimination go. Like,
absolutely.
Bye-bye. See ya. If I'm Derek X, I'm like, yeah, fine. Sure. This is a game for how much money? Yeah, if you want to go in, whatever. I don't care.
And we know it doesn't matter. The money doesn't matter. I've seen some people here in the live chat say that people are going to start volunteering to run the final. We all know the challenge will always give you enough opportunity until the end to earn the money to run the final. There's never any consequences for anyone for not jumping in and getting the money or the skulls immediately, because they'll get that chance at the end. So go deeper into the game so that you're a bigger player and you're remembered in fans in their minds enough to come back and play future seasons. That would be my strategy if I'm out there. I wouldn't be throwing myself in for any skulls or money.
No way. I would be avoiding that no matter what. Absolutely. Unless we hear like maybe down the road where TJ's like, hey, you need this money and this is the last opportunity that you have to get it, and then people are just like, okay, I want to go in because I need to, like, this is my last chance. So maybe that will happen, but before then I'd be like, I don't want to go in, sorry. I'll be playing a very boring game. It's avoid elimination, anybody but me for sure. Now what's wild though is the three men that are qualified is David, Tyson, and Kylan are the only three men that are qualified. I'm like, wow, I would never have thought that David would be amongst the ranks of those other two.
One of each from our fantasy teams.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
We'll take that. We'll take that at this stage. But like I said, it's going to change. There's going to be more people definitely that are going to qualify for this finale. We know that. But let's get into the arena. So obviously we have Derek and Shannon thrown in there to go up against the likes of Enzo and Justine. Justine has proven in these eliminations now that she doesn't just win daily, she also kicks ass at being down there. And when it matters, she can pull out the performances. So really applause to her. Like Kylan said a couple of episodes ago, she's a beast, and she could probably go up against any of the women from the current main show MTV challenge. So I would like to see that. But what did you guys think of this arena and TJ's whole, but wait, there's more, I'm gonna throw in an extra little twist here at the end, Chantel?
I agree with whatever this means for Drew. I mean, it was okay. Like we hear, oh, there's 60 tires that need to be transferred from one space to another space. Pretty typical. We've seen stuff like that before. Tires, sandbags, whatever. Then it's like the fake out. Okay, you thought it was going to just be that. And then they do two questions, like a question each, where it was spelling Ebe because they had to spell words backwards. And I didn't feel as though the words that they were spelling backwards were on the same level exactly. I definitely think that goggles is a lot easier to spell backwards than cynical. They're very different words. Some people don't use the word cynical that often to have seen it. They may not have read it before. Like they may have heard the word, but never seen it written out. And so I think that is a word that is going to be much harder no matter what to spell than goggles, which you've definitely have seen spelled at least once in your life. So I didn't think that was fair. It felt to me, and I know some people are like, I don't believe that production actually interferes or has an agenda. And we're like, well, I do. I feel as though they felt as though Enzo and Justine were more likely to beat Derek X and Shannon. I think that they probably very much liked Shannon. Shannon's confessionals have been great all season. It sucks when someone is hurt and they have to go home, or they have to go down into an arena and they're not able to perform to their their best. And so I think that they wanted Enzo and Justine to have a little bit of a disadvantage, so it seemed to be a little bit more fair for the kind of the underdog team with the hurt player. So I thought it was unbalanced.
Plus, let's not forget, they both had a disadvantage. You know, like Derek took 2 hours to change this flat tire. Shannon only phoned AAA. Like, you know, they didn't know what they were dealing with out there, so they had to even the playing fields here.
But I don't necessarily like that, because this was something that it wasn't like a hall brawl or something like that, where it's like, you know, like a weight class thing would come into play. So yeah, I kind of just didn't feel like the words were it wasn't an equalizer in a way that I thought was fair.
This was a dud. I'm telling you, a dud.
It was still a nail biter at the end.
I enjoyed it.
I'm really thrilled to see like tons of people moving tires back and forth. I feel like I'm watching an internship of Jiffy Lube. The spelling portion was bad. You can't tell me that wasn't just added on when TJ was like, you didn't think I was gonna have you moving tires all out by the end of it. I was like, I wish you did. I wish you did just have them moving tires by the end of it. This was all right. I mean, I guess you had to be in the arena to really feel the tension. I was just like, whatever. I knew the trailer and I knew Enzo won this, so I was just like, let's go, let's move on. We gotta get moving here. They did this on Inferno season 8 with bricks, 500 bricks. And even back then, they were like, nobody's watching this. This isn't a really good elimination. We're just going to focus on CT yelling at a ton of people and fights breaking out on the sidelines, because nobody was paying attention to Kendall and Leah moving 500 bricks. So I guess TJ could be really into this. I was not into this whatsoever. I would have loved to have seen Kyland and Cache volunteer, and then that would have been really nail biting, because I would have been like, yo, I'm ready for this. Like, I want to see how this all plays out. But this was not it. Not
Kylan would have gone beast mode out there if he had to go run it. But Cash, obviously, similar to Shannon, I don't think she's the tallest girl in the house.
No, Cash is tall. I mean, not tall, like a little bit. No, actually, I'm lying. Hold on. Let me think properly. I think she's probably like 5'7".
Taller than Shannon.
It's taller than Shannon for sure.
Okay. So Derek said that he and Shannon tried to complain to production that Shannon couldn't reach the tires and were told to figure it out. There was this funny moment with Tyson talking about short people also being able to do things and then cracking up at his own joke while he was in production, which I thought was really funny to see. You don't see Tyson laugh at his own jokes in those production shots very often. But overall, I did like the spelling stuff. I'm with you guys. Like, I could have taken it or we could have left it out. It's a thing, you know, it's a thing. It was there. But I like the having to run back and forth, digging deep, showing who wants it more. And then also there being an element of some smarts to it, because they had to stack it on top of each other on a platform. And obviously, you know, you'd expect someone like Derek, who's there, he's supposed to be the smart guy. That's what everybody's saying he is, but he's not really thinking about it in a practical way when he's stacking these tires. And they get found out because they actually did finish first. They just didn't think about the bottom, the base, building it from the base, and Enzo had this pancake-like structure that he was building, and it worked out for them. I mean, right until the end, I thought that Derek and Shannon could still pull this off. Even with Shannon's injury, they were leading throughout this. They just
5 tires really meant something.
Yeah, it was just attention to detail at the end of it, and Enzo looked like he was dying out there. He was really struggling.
Well, what Derek X said in an exit interview was that he was just stacking them high so that Shannon could stack them low. And so that's kind of why he was stacking them up, and so that they wouldn't get too high for Shannon to be able to, like, she would have somewhere that she could easily stack. And also apparently he made like a step, like a, I don't know, step ladder for her to be able to step up to be able to like unhook the tires, because she was too short to be able to do a lot of them. And so, yeah, I think height came into a play here, but they didn't really show us that in the episode.
See, this is where Tyson has a case with Survivor, right? So when you look at Survivor challenges, they always amend the weight that somebody has to keep up to their body weight, or they look at their height. If they have to stretch out and hold something at a certain position, they'll look at their height and adjust the challenge to that height for each one individually. Now, obviously, that would have meant that Shannon would have had her own pile to do, and Derek would have had his own pile to do, and they couldn't take each other's tires, for instance, because that would have made it too easy. But maybe that is something that should be taken into consideration for the future.
But just to counter that a little bit, though, Survivor, yes, does that at times. Like have like things be you're wearing whatever percentage of your weight or whatever it is. But sometimes they put the thing that you have to grab and jump at the same distance, and a short person might not be able to jump out and grab that.
Well,
whatever
the team challenges, yeah.
Yeah. So
like last season, we had someone that struggled with that, right?
they just did it over and over and over and over again because
Yeah.
they were too short. So they don't always take that into consideration.
At least I feel like they do it at the individual
Fair.
immunity portion of the game, where your game is literally in your own hands. You know, where if it's a team one, maybe I can understand you. Yeah, it's still. I mean, it's hard to get everybody. And then also you could have the argument that Jordan, people don't mean eliminations for Jordan when he plays the game. You know, he's got to play it with one hand, and he still beats people with two hands, and some of these arena challenges that he goes into. So you win some, you lose some. Well, I think we're pretty much at the end of this here. Unless there was something else you guys wanted to talk about, we probably should go into the points and get Drew to talk us through how everybody did.
I just want to throw out there, I wish they did eliminations a little bit more so like War of the Worlds, where they would have men going up against men, women going up against women, and then also having tag team eliminations as well. Kind of like the Shailene and Leroy versus Bear and Davon with the sandbags that they had to transfer between the two. I just feel like some of the eliminations have been lackluster, and I would like to see more of like classics, the drone drop ball or something like that. That could
Give
be
us a
little bit
poll.
more thrilling, a little bit more thrilling. I did like Simplicity. Simplicity is fine, but it's just not hitting it for me in these eliminations.
All right, let's get into the draft picks, and then we'll talk about points. So Chantel does take a double hit here this week with both Derek and Shannon going from her team. So even though she's got some power players left in the game, down to 4 players in total now, Chantel.
Sad.
I didn't realize it until I just looked at I couldn't remember who Derek and which team he was, to be honest. So sad to see you go down here in numbers.
Me too. But I do still feel like I have people that will bring me points still.
Yeah, you've got some power players there. You've got four winners. All of them have won dailies so far. So you're pretty much guaranteed that they're not going to be targeting them in the near future, I'd say.
Yeah, I got some people with money. The team's rich.
Drew, how did the points go this week? What happened on the point side of things? Did we see some movements?
We did not necessarily see any movements, except for the points going up. Securely in third place is my team, going up 31 points from 130 to 161. My leading scorer at the moment is Justine with 40 big points. And my next highest scorer is Leo with 25 points. So I have 161. Remember that. I have 161. In second place is Team Chris. Double checking it before I go into it. Yes, Team Chris in second place at 207 points. You went up 39 points this week from 168 to 207. Your leading scorer is Kyland. Oh, no, your leading scorer is Sarah with 33 points. She got a lot of confessionals this episode. So you have 33 points with her, and then Kylan has 30 points with Alyssa having 29 points. So you have a nice, well-rounded team. And despite having only 4 players left, Team Chantel is in first place, getting 33 points this episode. So going from 182 to 215, you guys securely in 200 points territory. And your leading scorer, of course, is Tyson with 52 points. And Cachet with 38 points. So, yeah, congratulations.
And I feel like those two are going to be in some fighting next week. So hopefully some more points there. Right? There's fight points in this draft, right?
If we ever get one.
I think we're going to get one next week.
All right.
We'll see.
I think so.
I was going to say, I feel like I'm in a a bad position right now because like I'm not used to firstly having most of the players on the park still there in my team. It's a very weird feeling because normally by this time I only have like 2 or 3 players left. But secondly, all the players that Chantel has at the moment are the players that I've enjoyed watching this season. So I don't really want to see any of them go. So I'm like conflicted.
So I think that I'm good at casting, I think is what I chose people that I like for this particular draft. So yeah, I think that I know how to pick the winners in that sense for sure.
Yeah. Drew, how are you feeling about your team overall? You mentioned there that I believe Justine is your top point getter. Leo is a second, or he's somewhere in there as well. Danny, we haven't spoken much about him. He's getting a weird edit this season because the only time they give him an opportunity to talk, it's about Kiki. He doesn't add anything to the game. And it's like he's there, but he's still getting confessionals every single episode. Does that mean that there's more to come from Danny?
I hope so. I mean, we're 6 episodes in, and he has only 18 points. So that means he has only 18 confessionals. Justine, I feel very solid with. Danny is doing well. Like, he's finishing in the top 3, top 4 every single week. So meaning he's probably not going to start losing at any point. So I feel really confident with him. David, I'm feeling a little bit better with, but Leo and Kira, I have no faith in. Kira is barely getting any screen time except when she's sick. And Leo is trying to be a big bad cat, but he is anything but. Everybody will throw him in no matter what. Even Sarah and Ben will throw him in at the first sign. So his time is coming, I'm sure.
Yeah. The drama has been good for me, guys. Like having the likes of Sarah and Ben and the Tyson thing happening. Obviously, Sarah was nowhere in the confessionals until recently, so that rise has been good. Finally, I'm getting points from her. If she's not going to win the dailies, at least give me some of that drama points and the confessional points, and going out there and winning. I guess an elimination as well has helped. There's still some potential here. I feel very confident about Kylan. Kylan, at this point, I feel like, from just a game point, I know there's a lot of people who've got opinions about Kylan, but I feel like he's been good as a game choice, I guess, for getting those points, potentially winning dailies. I still feel confident about the confessionals he's getting. The fact that he's actually the only one interested in doing this whole global event from the challenge and being excited by that gives me some hope that potentially there's still some legs to his game. We spoke a lot about Alyssa this episode and the fact that she's either going to go deep here or she's going to stick her neck too far out and get chopped off at this stage. But at least she's playing the game this season, which is more than a lot of other people that have not been able to get a lot of those confessionals and potentially haven't been central, I think, in some of these episodes. And for me, overall, this episode, if I had to sum it up, I enjoyed it a lot. And I mentioned this to Drew before we got online, Chantel, that at least in this episode, I felt like more people had a say and there was more confessionals across the board, where some of the previous episodes only focused maybe on 4 people. So that was good to see other people also getting into the conversation and getting a bit of an understanding of where their mind's head. I would still like to see a bit more of the social dynamics, which we're starting to see slowly now, and the day-to-day in-between challenges and things like that. I think someone else mentioned in the live, we're not seeing the bus rides to the clubs or any of that kind of stuff. Now, this isn't all the cast, so they might not be going out every night, but James was on here and he said that, if you think that there's club things happening, then you could expect that is going on right now. That is something that is happening. They're probably just not showing it.
Yeah, it's not being showed. I think the reason why we're seeing more people is because there's less people in the game. And so they have a lot more, they can focus on more of what's going on. And those people might be involved in the actual storyline now that there's not a lot of other people where they can kind of hide. So I think that that's why we're seeing a little bit more focus on more players for this particular episode. But I did want to say with Danny is that he was in the top 3 this episode. It was like him and Alyssa and then it was also Angela and Dom were the other 2 teams that are only a minute apart of from winning against Desi and David. So they were pretty close to winning as well. And I think that we have to say that 60 seconds, if they had 61 seconds faster, like Danny and Alyssa could have won that daily. So I think that he's going to come in with a win. I think that producers are loving him mentioning Kiki all the time, and they're allowing us to get these Kiki confessionals in. I think we talked about this before, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they're grooming Kiki for a bloodline season on the main show, which I think would be super awesome. And so I think that Danny makes it to the end of the season. I do think that Danny is going to run the final. It just seems like he's positive about the season. and he doesn't seem to be bitter about the season at all. And that would lead me to believe that he had a fair shot. So I expect to see
And he's
Danny
too
in the
likable.
final.
He's
Yeah, he's
he's
really
just too
likable.
like who's gonna vote against Danny? Like, I mean, what is he doing to piss people off right now? Like, he's just sitting back, being cool, calm, and collected, and going through the season,
Yeah, he definitely doesn't
doing
have
his
any
business.
enemies. No, not at all.
No, his biggest enemy in his mind is his performance that he has to put out there week in and week out to keep impressing Kiki. Like, if he doesn't impress Kiki enough, she might not let him back in the house after the season.
Exactly.
If I'm hoping he gets the win soon, and hoping it's coming next episode, because it is rumored that Danny and Justine are paired up next episode. So that would be
Fire.
fantastic for this guy. So hopefully that
Yes,
happens.
you're gonna be
And also
top
Justine's
scorer
my
next
queen, so
episode.
please.
Justine is your
Yeah.
queen. Oh, also, I
Well-
did hear though that I don't know. I think it was Dolores actually that might have commented this. That Tyson said that a lot of people were sick at around this time, and so we only really saw Kira because it was an episode kind of around focused around her and Tyson, but more than just her were sick. So I don't know if it was food, I don't know if it was the area, but apparently they got your face true. They got some sort of bug or I don't know if it was food poisoning or like some bug of the area, but a lot more people than just Kira were sick. So just saying that.
It's good to know. It's good inside
That
information.
could also be why Tyson's irritated that like they're not taking precautions maybe to keep them safe. And maybe Survivor doesn't want people to be sick in that way. So maybe.
This is a good one here by Christina saying maybe Paramount Plus should do shit you should have seen every season or every week. So we get to see some of that things that didn't make it was still on the cutting floor. That didn't make the actual show, because I feel like that's the thing we always complain about with Paramount Plus. Like, it's such a great product.
Give me live
All
feeds.
Stars is great. Like, the Challenge USA is great. I think it's been a success for Paramount Plus, but because it's such a short season, and I'm not advocating for the 18 or 20 episodes that we get in the main show, because that seems too dragged out sometimes as well. But I do think having some of that behind the scenes footage could be really interesting as well, if it's like 10 or 15 minutes or whatever it is. I mean, this is an online platform. It's a streaming platform that they could put these things onto easily. It doesn't need to be at a specific schedule between shows, on CBS, for instance, Drew.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it.
Yeah.
I would like to see more, because I kind of equate it to like if you're watching Big Brother or Survivor and they cut out majority of the social strategies, which is what a lot of people watch for. They want to see intent to play and strategies and politicking and personalities. And I get it. It's the challenge. We have to do 2 challenges, 1 challenge and 1 elimination every single week. So it's like they want to put a lot of emphasis on that, because that's also clean and fun for the whole family. But we want to see, actual gameplay going on instead of flashbacks for 2 seconds going like, Leo and Sarah should go in. All right. And that's why we picked Leo and Sarah, because their name popped up. It's like, okay, well, it's great. That was great gameplay. Thanks, guys. So I would like more of it.
All right. As we close things off here, Chantal, let us know what's happening on Reality Realness with 3 S's over the next week.
Well, tomorrow I'll go live with Sarah to talk about this episode again. I can't wait to hear her thoughts about this episode.
3rd time this week?
It was my 3rd time, yes. But do you know what that was very interesting is that all the conversations are completely different. It's actually very fun. I don't get bored or like say the exact same things on every single one necessarily. Some obviously things are going to overlap, but for the most part, like they're very different. So I'm going to be talking with Sarah from Nerdtainment tomorrow. I just watched the first 2 episodes of the first episode of Snake in the Grass. I like it. And so I'm thinking of maybe doing some coverage with that, but that hasn't happened yet. So just you'll be looking out for me for Love Island pretty much every day, either right after the episode or if I'm doing something else beforehand, then it'll be the next day at 6:15 Eastern. And then The Bachelorette after the episode. Same with The Amazing Race after the episode. And then, back to regular scheduled programming with the Challenge USA on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So I think that's all I've got going on.
Drew, what about your channel? What's happening on the Angel Cake Entertainment channel over the next week?
We got Patreon going live for Tiny Table Talk tomorrow night for Patreon exclusive. Sunday is the finale for Endurance Season 5. I got a clip And also, I want to throw this out there. I'm doing a daily poll, and I'm trying to go somewhat what Russell Muscle TV did, and as well as Athanimail. They did all putting up 2 Survivor or Big Brother seasons every single day, and then everybody gets to choose. And then it was just a giant bracket to see which is the favorite season. And I'm doing that for the challenge right now. I think we're on day 5, and we're going to be heading out to day 6. It's going to be like 36 days. This is going to be exciting. Tuesday, I'll have a video where I collab with Athanimail talking about our retrospective on the season, what we feel about the Challenge USA. Is it going the way we thought? Who's surprising us? Who did we pick to go far and did not go far? And more, as well as another video coming out, review and recap on Thursday and Friday. I have a plan to have a video, but I don't know what it will be just yet. So, yeah.
Check out Angel Cake Entertainment channel for more content on the challenge. That sounds really exciting, especially that little bit of collab you're going to be doing with Athanimail on the Nullified Take channel. We have not done this week's recap yet for Survivor South Africa, Return of the Outcast. That's going to happen later on in my day. I'm not too sure what time it would be over in the US, but early morning hours, I would assume on Saturday morning hours. It is already scheduled on the channel if you want to jump on that or watch it later on. Really excited to talk about this week. I've also got some exit interviews that will be dropping soon for this week of Survivor South Africa Return of the Outcasts. Going into next week, there is going to be a slight change of schedule for the Challenge USA for when we cover it on this channel. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to be 2 hours earlier than what we have been. I will give you guys more information in regards to that at a later stage, but just keep an eye on the community tab. I'm hoping that it doesn't mess things up on your side too much. I love having the live people here with us doing the chat, but it is for a very good reason that I have to move this, which I can't just publicly talk about as of yet, but you will know in a week why we had to do this. But as always, guys, thank you so much for checking out this podcast, this recap. We will see you guys next time as always, and goodbye.